Hey, Keenan Savage here. This is 3 videos that I made stitched together, but it is still super worth watching because this video has a lot of stuff that those 3 ones did not have. That includes skins for Emma Frost and Ultron, as well as new skin recommendations for costumes that actually ended up getting put in the game. So whether you've seen those old videos or not, there's some great stuff in here. Let's go ahead and let it roll. When you think of the archetype of a superhero, the first thing that probably comes to mind is their costume. Striking designs meant to communicate to the audience what the powers or personalities of these characters are like. It's what elevates them beyond a simple character with powers and turns them into something super, something to strive towards, something that's
iconic, a symbol, something kids will draw on the margins of their notebooks while they daydream about being as cool as you. It's also tough as hell to pull off.
With these super suits being so critical to superheroes, and with so many artists leaving their own unique fingerprints on these characters, it should come as no surprise that most characters have had their fair share of alternate costumes. Sometimes for the best, and sometimes for the worst. But regardless of their quality, these alternate superhero costumes make for great collectibles in video games. Most superhero games have some form of alternate costumes, and Marvel Rivals is no exception. With 3 classes of heroes and an expanding roster, alternate costumes is the most reasonable way for an otherwise free game to make some money while providing fans with some visual variety. So I figured I'd help to add to that variety with some ideas of my own. This is one costume for every single Duelist character in Marvel Rivals. The tough thing about finding an alternate costume for Black Panther is that there's not a lot of variety in Black Panther's costumes. They all follow relatively the same format with a few additional touches here and there. The base suit that he has in the game basically covers most of your Black Panther looks. To find a good alternate costume, I would have to find something that really shakes it up. Luckily, artist Chris Allen really shook things up in his 2023 Black Panther book's design for the character in his new Banished costume. In this story, Black Panther is banished from Wakanda, but still protects it from within, from the shadows. I think it's a really cool, badass looking suit. I love the big pauldron on the shoulder, I love the cape, the spear, the little throwing knives, the hand claws. Hell, the spear on it even kind of plays into Black Panther's mechanics in the game where he uses his spear to mark his targets. I think it mixes up the suit about as much as you really can, and for all of those reasons and more, I think it would make a really good addition to Marvel Rivals. Black Widow has a similar issue to Black Panther in that they've basically all got the one outfit with various minor alterations to it. The black bodysuit is just it. It's perfect for a spy, it's perfect for that character. They nailed it on the head with that one. Luckily, Black Widow wore something before she got her iconic black bodysuit, something that is wildly different. I'm talking about the Soviet Spider outfit from Tales of Suspense number 64 by Don Heck. This suit certainly leans into more superhero-y elements with the cape and mask and things like that, and I think it's so dramatically different from what we know Natasha to wear nowadays that it would be a really fun addition. This was back from her supervillain days, and this suit's filled with all sorts of gadgets and stuff to help her fight against Iron Man a little bit more efficiently. Obviously, you wouldn't be able to implement any of that into the game, but I think just the fun, radically different look with the blue and the fishnets and, the black hair instead of the red hair, it would be a fun mix-up. And hey, Tales of Suspense number 64, that's not just the first appearance of this suit, it's also the second appearance of another famous Marvel character. Yes, Hawkeye, aka Clint Barton. Honestly, I'm going to give a very hot take about Hawkeye and stuff, right? I really love his classic costume. Also by Don Heck, this one appearing in Avengers number 109. I really love this costume. I know a lot of people aren't fans of it for whatever reason, but I really dig it. I think it fits his Archer's aesthetic. I love the color purple, and this outfit is, full of it. A lot of people seem to not like the mask, but let me genuinely ask you, what is the difference between this mask and Wolverine's mask? What is what makes this one lame and his cool? Alright, get back to me on that one. Yeah, Hawkeye's iconic purple and blue. There's nothing really like it in the game. Obviously he has an outfit with purple and blue accents, but it's really its own thing, and I would love to have something more in line with this classic comic book look for Hawkeye somewhere in there to play as. Well, you remember earlier when I said that Black Panther and Black Widow had this issue of not having a lot of variety? Yep, we're here again. And after all that talk about how each artist leaves their own thumbprint and things like that, and yeah, whatever. Just most of Hela's outfits in the comics are some basic variation or artist's rendition of the same costume. We could do one of her earlier looks, which didn't have as many horns and whatnot, but oh wait, no, Marvel Rivals already has that as a skin in the game. So what can you do to really mix it up? The best I can do for you is Hela's Goddess of Life outfit from What If Season 2. The all-white look, it's the most drastically different, it's the most varied outfit, it's the only thing I could think of. But honestly, I think it would be a pretty good fit. You know, we've seen some MCU stuff in there, so it's not unprecedented. And like I said, it's the most radically different thing I could think of from her regular appearances. It takes that black and flips it into a white, you know? I think that would be fun. I think it would mix it up. Look, it's all I got, alright? It's not a good sign that we're this early into the video and I gotta pull straws like this, okay? Iron Fist poses a really unique issue for this, because most of the characters here are the most iconic versions of these characters, and as such, have a bunch of different costumes. But the Iron Fist in Marvel Rivals is not the most iconic Iron Fist. The most iconic Iron Fist, the one people know about from the comics, is Danny Rand. This one, however, is Lin Lai, who took over the role recently and used to be the character Swordmaster. As such, he's only really had the one costume because that's all he's really had the time to wear. So, what do we do about him and the costumes? Honestly, best I've got, give him Danny Rand's costume. Don't put Danny Rand in the game as an alternate skin. This is just Lin Lai wearing Danny Rand's outfit, the iconic Iron Fist outfit, the big collar, the bandana, the slippers, the big open chest with the dragon tattoo. Do all of it. It's super iconic. People love it. They will buy this skin. Okay, so where other characters have had the issues of too little variety, Iron Man has the exact opposite issue. Alternate outfits for him aren't just a gimmick that he does every now and then. They're a core tenement of the character. His entire superpower is having alternate costumes. So you could pick a really obvious one, like maybe some of the MCU suits, or maybe like the Bleeding Edge or Extremis armor, but I decided to get weird with it. That's why my pick is the Iron Maniac armor. This suit first shows up in Marvel Team Up number 2 from 2004. And it really doesn't have that much to it. It's an evil version of Iron Man from a parallel universe who comes over to do some stuff. I'm not gonna lie, I picked this one because, like, I saw it in an Iron Man suit list like 10 years ago or whatever, and it has lived rent-free in my mind since. It's such a unique looking suit. The combination of silver and purple is really cool. I love that classic kind of pointier Iron Man mask. I think this outfit just looks great. It just sticks in my head so much. It feels really unique, and I think it would make a fantastic skin. I think people will really enjoy this. It would really stand out from other Iron Men with the typical red and yellow patterns. In my original Duelist video, I wanted Magic to have her classic New Mutants outfit. She has a blue and yellow X-Men uniform, which is basically close enough to the New Mutants uniform. I'm sure they'll put out like a black and yellow like color palette swap down the line or whatever. It's close enough. I'll just let it count. If I didn't let it count, I'd get a bunch of comments about it anyways. So what do I want instead? Well, instead, I want Magic's graduation outfit. Basically, for a little bit, Mojo turned all the X-Men into children and had them kidnapped and whatnot, so the New Mutants had to go ahead and sort of take over as the X-Men for a little bit. They each put together some kind of makeshift costumes out of what they could find, and I really like this look for Magic. In the first issue where this costume shows up, it's depicted as white, but in subsequent appearances, it shows up more as like red, and I can't remember there being a reason for that switch happening. Not a canon one anyways, but it looks really cool, especially in the red. I think it looks really obviously just like kind of magical, and it's very different. You know, it's got a very, you know, kind of fantastic kind of look to it with the cape and the hood and things like that, and I think that's really interesting. There's no other magic costumes that I can think of anyways that have like a cape involved anywhere, or that really, you know, lean into that more magic kind of look anyways, which is ironic given her name. But so yeah, I would absolutely love to see this. I would love to see what the Darkchild version of this outfit looks like. Jesus, that would rule, absolutely. But yeah, so magic graduation outfit, 110%. For Moon Knight, we're going to have to kind of do what we did with Iron Fist. Mark has a couple of different Moon Knight outfits, but by and large, they are basically the same outfit with a few tweaks every here and there, and the Marvel Rivals Moon Knight covers most of those alternate looks, really. So instead, we're going to have Mark / Jake / Steven in another character's costume. Who will that character be? Well, that'll be Hunter's Moon, a character who, well, in his costume anyways, first showed up in Moon Knight #1 from 2021. This character's real name is Dr. Yaya Badar. I am so sorry if I got that wrong, but he is essentially the second fist of Khonshu. He is another devout follower of Khonshu, one that's a little bit more loyal than Mark is, which leads to some conflicts between them. I think that the like more black suit with the white cape and these little like circular moon patterns on the head and chest, the elements of gold, they're really cool, and I think they'll make for a great skin. I really wanted to do something kind of similar with Namor as I did with Magic, tie him into the greater Marvel Universe, specifically the X-Men part of the Marvel Universe, because Namor is a mutant. He's the first mutant. Not really, but it's a title because he was the first one that showed up. Whatever, we're not getting into it. Now, normally Namor wears his typical outfit, and then on occasion it has a little X-Men symbol on the belt buckle. But then I remembered there's an outfit which can tie him into a greater part of X-Men lore. That is his Phoenix 5 outfit. Basically, during an event called Avengers vs. X-Men, the Phoenix, split off into a bunch of different host bodies, and Namor was one of them, and got this massive power boost and this costume. I think the fire elements would look great on this suit, like the little like fire around like his little ankle wings especially. I think this would be a really fantastic suit. But yeah, I think just like the fire effects would just really make it stand out. It would really make it something spectacular. I think it would tie him in with the X-Men side of the universe. I just think it's great all around. I would love to play in this skin. Okay, so Psylocke has all of Iron Fist's issues, and like so many more. So the version of Psylocke that we have in Marvel Rivals is like Psy from Peach Momoko's Demon Days, but that's basically an original version of the character, so she basically just has the one outfit, which is what Marvel Rivals has drawn from. The most famous version of the character, though, is Betsy Braddock, who's in a whole body swap situation with another character named Quanin. And so there's all the outfits that Betsy Braddock has had, all the outfits that we know that Quanin, and it gets all mixed up, and it becomes so complicated so fast. So as you can imagine, I was rather confused. Whose suit should I give this character? Which I pick from? But then I realized, oh wait, she has an alternate skin. That's just Psylocke's regular costume, her iconic one from the Marvel Comics, despite all the craziness. Okay, sure, whatever. If we can do that, I can do this. So I'm giving her her Lady Mandarin costume from the comics. In part just because it is so very different from the typical ninja aesthetic that Psylocke is known for. It's so very different from a lot of the aesthetics that Betsy Braddock uses whenever she's not Psylocke. I just think it was cool. This is from a temporary period where she was brainwashed and becoming a bad guy, and it was a whole thing, and I'm pretty sure it involved the hand, but I don't know, I can't remember off the top of my head. Pretty sure it did, though. But yeah, I just think the big headdress, the cape, all the armor and things like that, it would lead to a really different look, which would it's just cool. It's just very cool. It's very different and very cool, and that's why I think it's a perfect outfit. And really, isn't that all the reason you need? For Scarlet Witch, it was a really easy pick for me, just like classic Scarlet Witch. Basically, the first version of this suit basically showed up in Avengers number 75 with art by John Buscema, and honestly, I just think it's pretty iconic. They've yet to add it, it feels pretty obvious, but I would love to see it. I love the cape on it, I love the kind of pink elements in addition to the red. It's a super iconic suit, and honestly, I would just love something a little bit more comic booky. I love the suits that she has in the game, especially her base one, but hey, you know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Oh, Spider-Man, Marvel's golden boy. They can always rely on you for an easy paycheck. And so they've given you about 115 different costumes over the years to make action figures of. That sounds cynical, but Spider-Man is legitimately huge, to say the least, and just massively beloved, and he does have so many costumes to draw from. I could pick a more obvious one, like 2099, or a more controversial one, like that streaming costume he had recently, but I figured, screw it. He has so many costumes out there, and everyone's got a favorite. Why don't I just pick something new that'll probably be an unpopular opinion? I'm gonna go with the 8 Deaths of Spider-Man suit. This suit is still relatively new. It was designed by Ed McGuinness, and, you know, I love Ed McGuinness's artwork, and this is a pretty cool looking suit. Regardless of what you have to say about the story, this is a really cool suit. I love the silver and the red. I love the glowy green spider. I love that huge red scarf with it. I think it's just a really cool and unique look for Spider-Man, you know? The scarf adds some more flowiness to it and stuff. Silver isn't really a prominent color that we, I think, ever see in Spider-Man. I like the kind of glowy logo. I like the emphasis on red where it's not typically at. It kind of takes the place of the blue in your typical Spider-Man design. Yeah, it's just, you know, why not give this suit a chance? Let it show up in something. Every other Spider-Man suit does. This one will eventually. Let's just go ahead and give it here. So at first for Squirrel Girl, I was tempted to give her the costume of her clone, Allie in Green, from Squirrel Girl Beats Up the Marvel Universe. I like the kind of darker color palette with the bright red, you know, belt and shoes. I think that'd be a fun contrast. But I decided, what the heck, it's Squirrel Girl, we can play it up a little bit more. And so ultimately, I decided to go with the Iron Squirrel armor from Unbeatable Squirrel Girl number 2. This is just a bit armor featured briefly as she does like some, you know, stuff with Galactus basically. But it's fun, you know, it's a Squirrel Girl Iron Man armor. It highlights her relationship with Tony since she first appeared in an Iron Man story, basically. And I think that would be great. I think it would be, you know, just a cute, fun little, you know, Squirrel Girl costume. I love it. 10 out of 10. Star-Lord has actually had a good couple of really different suits over the years because he has gone through some interesting and strange changes. A lot of his costumes nowadays, because of the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, tend to come down to some form of jacket and helmet. But I want to take it all the way back to Marvel Preview number 4, with art by Stephen Gann and Bob McLeerden. The original Star-Lord costume is so bizarre compared to how we know him now. This weird bug-eyed helmet, the blue and yellow color palette, this just kind of more typical superhero bodysuit-ish type look. I think it's so removed from what people think of Star-Lord looking like that it would just be really fun and kind of wacky to include it. Plus, I do have some fondness for it. I think that the big bug-eyed kind of alien helmet look is kind of cool and kind of fits that whole like space exploration, you know, kind of hero type look. It gives off a kind of Flash Gordon, Adam Strange kind of vibe, and I really dig that. I dig that kind of classic sci-fi style. I think the yellow and blue go good together. His belt's got a kind of red accent to it that it adds. I think this would be a really like interesting suit that kind of ties into the character's history and the way he's evolved in a lot of ways. I think this should absolutely be in the game at some point or another. My initial pick for Storm was her Storm Chaser outfit with, you know, her hammer and all the Asgardian stuff, and that got put into the game. It looks fantastic. I love it. It's a 10 out of 10. So in its place, I want her Vibranium armor in the game. This is an outfit she got recently in the ongoing Storm series. It was designed by guest artist Luciano Vicino. I really hope I'm pronouncing that right. But it is a fantastic armor. It looks so cool. The heavy black coloring with the stark white. I love the accents of her like crown placed in the weaponry and throughout it. I don't even know how the weapon could be implemented. Maybe just as an emote. Maybe it's just on her back. Who knows? It just looks rad, you know? Plus, when asked about this suit, he said it was literally inspired partially by Marvel Rivals. So, like, yeah, absolutely. Put the suit in the game. It looks so rad, man. Okay, before I can get into this, I gotta say, I really want Punisher to go back to the white go-go boots and gloves and everything. Like, still just as hardened and gritty and dark as he's become in more modern times, but just with that classic 60s look to him again. Now, as much as I love that look and would love for it to show up in Marvel Rivals, I've got something a little bit more interesting. I would love to see the Punisher Noir costume show up. I think that moving the skull from his chest to his face as this kind of mask is really cool, and the whole outfit does have this kind of pulpy detective look with the long coat and things like that, which obviously plays into other looks that the Punisher has had over the years. There's not really much to say about this outfit. It's just a really cool and unique look for the character that I would love to see pop up more often. The Winter Soldier is another example of not a lot of variety in his costumes. He's only been around since about 2005, and so his Winter Soldier fits haven't really changed that much. The most different one I can think of, they've already done. It's his Revolutionary skin in Marvel Rivals, so I can't really think of any Winter Soldier outfits to add. But that's just the thing. He wasn't always the Winter Soldier. He was once just Bucky Barnes, Captain America's loyal sidekick back in 1941. Yeah, I think they should add the original Bucky suit. I think that would be really just, classic, really just dramatically different from what we have for the typical Winter Soldier looks. Obviously, you'll still need to include the robot arm some way or another, but yeah, I think it would be really fun to basically just take the classic Bucky outfit with that sort of blue double-breasted jacket with the red tights and gloves and everything, just slap a robot arm on it and bam, new Winter Soldier skin. It plays around with Marvel history, it would be a little funny, it would be a little different. I think it's a fantastic choice. Wolverine is one of the characters where the skin I wanted actually ended up getting put into the game. I said I wanted Patch, and I got him. There he is. It's great skin. So now that that look is in the game, what do I want instead? Well, Wolverine is a character with a lot of fantastic outfits, and a lot of great ones, a lot of ones that are kind of obvious picks. So if you want to pick out something a little more interesting, you should look for maybe something that is a fun idea that wasn't executed great. That is why I am going with the bandana and bone claws look for Wolverine. This is a look Wolverine rocked for a little bit after Fatal Attractions, wherein Magneto ripped all the adamantium off of Logan's skeleton. You'll probably recognize it from the end of X-Men 97. But yeah, this it wasn't exactly a popular look, aided by the fact that art without the bandana often depicted him as noseless for whatever reason. But I think the look with the bandana and the bone claws, like, I see what they were going for. It's more feral, it's more, just kind of naturalistic, cobbled together. I kind of like the idea with the bandana and everything. The bone claws are really rad. I think they could pull it off. I think this could work, especially in the Rivals art style. I think this could make for a really cool looking skin and a really fun spin on it by this team and a really just niche, interesting moment in comics history, especially for Wolverine. Now again, we've got another instance of not too much actual variety in his comic book costumes. There are little embellishments, but nothing too big to make an entire new skin out of, not at this point. His main outfit basically does the white and blue look, and his secondary outfit basically does the blue and black look. So what else can I really do to shake it up? I could do the Future Foundation suit, but the kind of special thing about that is the mostly white color palette, which is already covered by his base suit. So I figured the next best thing would probably be his red outfit from 2014. Designed by Leonard Kirk, this is not the Fantastic Four's most popular look, but it is very different, and I think that'll be fun. It's a bit of a deep cut, It's the most dramatically different thing I can think of. And hey, when you put out the rest of the FF, you can basically give them one of these costumes for all of them. And before you say anything, no, my picks for the Fantastic Four will not all be this costume. Just gonna say it now, everyone can have their red suit. But yeah, my best idea for Mr. Fantastic, the red outfit. And so we come to our final Duelist character, the newest one at the time of recording this. Johnny Storm, aka the Human Torch. Okay, funny story, I actually could have had this video out like a week earlier. It was like so ready to go, but then I heard that the Thing in the Human Torch would be dropping like next Friday, and I figured, well, obviously the Human Torch is going to be a Duelist character, and I can't make this video and have it just be irrelevant within a week. So I decided wait around, see what skins Johnny will have, and then make my suggestion, delaying the entire video for just one character. But hey, it looks like the skin they're giving him in the game is the outfit he wore while he was trapped in the negative zone for a while, which was not going to be the outfit I was going to suggest, so that waiting was just all for nothing. Brilliant. Cool. Love that. But what outfit do I want to give Johnny? Well, that would be his Uncanny Inhumans outfit. This costume, like the red one, came from a very unpopular period in the character's history. A period I refer to as the Dark Times. The Dark Times were this brief period where Ike Perlmutter didn't want to make any X-Men or Fantastic Four comic books because those would promote movies owned by other studios. And so the Fantastic Four just disappeared, alongside the X-Men. It was a really terrible period of Marvel because Ike Perlmutter is kind of a terrible person. Point is, this is an outfit that Johnny wore while he was kind of all on his own. Sue and Reed were out in another dimension somewhere, and, you know, Johnny kind of had to do his own superhero stuff without the FF. And honestly, it's not that bad. I like the colors on it, you know, it's a pretty distinct look for him. It's the only thing I could think of that wasn't directly related to the FF that sort of broke off from their typical looks. It's more of a solo superhero suit for Johnny, and you know what? I kind of enjoy that. Good for him. It's nice to see him do some stuff on his own. Although I could not have been more happy when he ditched it and put back on the classic blue suit and got back together with his family. Now, when I make these, I try not to go for the obvious answer. I try to dig a little bit deeper to come up with something a little bit more unique. However, that being said, my choice for Adam Warlock absolutely has to be Magus. Magus is an evil version of Adam Warlock from the future after spending years getting corrupted and warped by the Soul Gem, and he is a huge part of Adam Warlock lore. Now, this could just be the basic Adam Warlock skin in the game, but with like a different color palette or whatever, but I think if they were going to go that route with it, then that would have been his alternate skin that, you know, came in the base form of the game. I think the fact that they didn't go with that in the very base of the game means that they intend to do Magus as his own skin with a more unique look, and I would absolutely love that. I would love to see this. You know, I've mentioned it before, I love purple. Purple's my favorite color, so, you know, a skin like that with a lot of purple in it compared to the gold that you typically see on Adam Warlock, I think that would be really cool. I think that would be really fun. So, Cloak and Dagger's costumes haven't changed that much over the years. They have these really kind of simplistic costumes that match for kind of simplistic powers, and it sort of plays into each other, you know? The biggest difference that there's been over the years is just Dagger's costume has closed up with more fabric over the years, which, like, good, that looks more practical and more comfortable. As a result, the biggest, most drastic costume difference I can think of is the outfits they had in Cloak and Dagger Spider Island number 3 when they were influenced by Mr. Negative and ended up swapping their abilities. So Cloak, who's typically all dark and has these kind of black aesthetics, had this very bright and white outfit, while Dagger had, you know, the opposite. She went from, you know, brights and whites and had this all black suit. It's really great. It flips their traditional black and white color scheme. Do I really need to explain this one? I mean, I think it's pretty obvious, you know? look at that little guy. Look at his little feet. Look at him. Oh, look, he's so cute. He's adorable. I want him dead. Oh, but he's so cute, though. And one of the cutest little outfits, you know what I mean? Is this little suit and tie look from the It's Jeff Marvel comic book on their digital comic book streaming service. Oh, he's so cute with his little suit and tie. It's so adorable. Look at this little guy. He's such a professional businessman. Oh, my God. So, Thor is actually one of my favorite Marvel characters, and one of my absolute favorite Thor runs is Jason Aaron's run on the character. If you can get your hands on some Jason Aaron Thor comic books, I absolutely recommend them. They are just fantastic. It's a great story. It's full of just, I won't even get into it, but it's a fantastic story. Absolutely read it. Go to your local comic book shop and check it out. But one of the highlights of that run is that we keep getting these little flashbacks throughout it to a young Thor back in the days of Vikings and things like that, right? And of course, wherever you get Thor, Loki is sure to follow. It's in these pages where we see a young Thor's kind of Viking adventures that we see this sort of Viking version of Loki. And oh my God, he looks so different. He looks awesome. Not to say that regular Loki doesn't look awesome, but like, look at that. He looks like he could actually kick your ass. So many of Loki's aesthetics, especially in the modern day, are so clean and neat and things like that, that to see this one with this kind of bony skull-like mask and these kind of animal-like furs and this kind of, I don't know, like moss-like cape, it just, oh my God, he looks so cool. I think this is one of the most incredible, like, it's such a different Loki design, but it's still obviously Loki. It looks like it's rooted in Norse mythology, even though I know it probably isn't. I know nothing about actual Norse mythology. I'm just gonna guess Loki doesn't look like this there, though. But if you told me he did, yeah, I would believe you. I would buy it, because this just looks amazing. This is one of the most badass looks for Loki out there. I would absolutely love to see it in the game. But yeah, no, seriously though, go out and buy some Jason Aaron Thor comics. They are so good. One thing that many people, including myself, have praised Marvel Rivals for is their inclusion of more obscure, lesser-known characters. I think it's fantastic that a game this big isn't just picking the biggest, most popular names. I think it's great that they're picking more obscure characters and giving them the spotlight they wouldn't otherwise have. Well, me as a longtime Marvel Comics fan figured, well yeah, they'll pick some obscure ones every here and there, but I'll know who all of them are. I've been in this for a while now. And then they said Luna Snow would be in the game, and I had no idea who that character was. Turns out she originated in Marvel Future Fight in 2018. I think she was integrated into the comics around 2019, but it's pretty cool. That's pretty cool that they made a character for this mobile game to represent the Korean audience, and she got put into the comic books. I think that's great, and I think it's even greater that she's in Marvel Rivals and, you know, is able to get more popular from there. So looking into her skins in Marvel Future Fight, because that's where most of her costumes have been, the one I wanted to go with from them was her Andromeda outfit, and you might be wondering why that. It looks kind of generic, it's kind of just like a generic superhero suit, but that's why I picked it out. Oddly enough, by it being a kind of generic superhero suit, it kind of stands out from her regular attire, which is usually kind of streetwear, you know, kind of pop star, celebrity clothing. Giving her a more standard superhero outfit actually kind of stands out from her wardrobe in this way. So yeah, I'm going with her Andromeda outfit. I think that'll be really unique amongst her lineup of, you know, other skins that she'll have in the game. And shout out to you, Luna Snow, fictional character who cannot hear this shout out. I'm glad that you've had such a surge in popularity. Good for you. Okay, so when I was a kid, I would always get, like, you know, whatever comic books were available at the book fair. And I remember one time at the book fair, there was a little Guardians of the Galaxy comic book available. Now, looking back on it, I remember that, like, most of the comics in it were just episodes of cartoons that were out at the time, Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes and Ultimate Spider-Man, that featured the Guardians of the Galaxy. It was just like stills from those episodes with word balloons put on them. But in the back of that booklet, after the little still cartoons, there was an actual comic book. It was The Incredible Hulk number 271, which was actually the second ever appearance of Rocket Raccoon. Now, the outfit he wears in this is not great. It's this weird silver body harness thing and this little blue cape and these little rocket slipper things that he wears. It's not a great look for him. So if it's not a great skin, why do I want it in the game? Well, because Marvel Rivals doesn't directly adapt these costumes. They adapt them, but they put it in their own style. And I think this costume could look interesting if changed up enough with the Marvel Rivals art style. Weird little silver body harness thing might become some interesting kind of armor. I think the blue cape would look interesting on Rocket, especially since his other skins lack any kind of a cape. He doesn't typically wear a cape, so that'll help this one stand out a little bit. I think the little slippers will be kind of funny. I don't know if it would be at all possible for them to like animate the slippers instead of the jetpack on his back for his rocketing, ability. I don't know, but I feel like this would be a fun outfit. I feel like it would be interesting to see just what they could do with it, really, because it's really basic, and I feel like you could change it in all sorts of ways while still basically maintaining what it is. I don't know. I think that would be super neat. Out of everyone here, Mantis actually gave me some of the most trouble. Her existing skins in the game cover basically her more popular outfits, leaving me with a few other things to pick from that I just wasn't sure about. There was her classic outfit, which is, alright, it might make for a kind of fun retro skin. There was her Avengers Crossed outfit, which is, it's different and it mixes things up. Unfortunately, it's from Avengers Crossed. So I wasn't quite sure about what to give her until I remembered that she was in the 2023 Guardians of the Galaxy comic books. Now, I didn't really read much of these, I just saw about them, but I remember they had really cool designs for each of the Guardians. They looked really different and unique, and Mantis was no exception. That's why I'm picking out what I'm just calling the Mantis Really Big Fist outfit. At this time, Mantis was in a bit of a weird period, which, if you know anything about Mantis as a character, that basically sums up most of her history, just being in various weird periods. But basically, Mantis's personality had been split into a bunch of different versions, and then they'd all come back together or whatever, so she was kind of cycling through different personalities that have been split on stuff. It's complicated, it's weird. The point is, this is the form that Mantis would take whenever it was kind of time to throw down, time to get into a fight, action scenes. And I think it's really cool. I think the kind of black color palette of it and stuff is interesting because it's so different from the traditionally more kind of natural colors that Mantis goes with. I like the big spiky shoulder pauldron and the big giant smacky hand. To say it's pretty dramatically different from Mantis's typically look, it's an understatement. It's a lot more aggressive, it's a lot darker. I would love to see it. I don't know how they would incorporate that kind of Hellboy-like hand into her character design, if they might need to tone that down a little bit. I don't know, but I think it's really badass, and I would love to see it in the game. Well, Susan has her Malice skin and her wedding outfit in Marvel Rivals already. Those are basically the two biggest alternate looks I could think of for her off the top of my head. Again, as I've said about other Fantastic Four members, their costumes don't have too much variety to them, not enough that would warrant making an entire skin that would actually be worth it and things like that, right? The only thing I can really think of to give her would maybe be her 90s costume. No, not that 90s costume, not that one. No, the other one, the other 90s costume. There we go, that's better. But yeah, I think this costume is pretty fun. I like the kind of sleeveless look with the then kind of opera gloves, which add this kind of white element on her arms and stuff. I think it does a good job at showing a bit more skin while not showing that much skin. But yeah, I just think this is a unique costume. Susan's the only one who ever got one like it. You don't see Reed running out here in the opera gloves or anything. Again, I think the redistribution of the colors is interesting, and I think it's the most we can really change it up without getting too drastic. But yeah, her second 90s costume. And so here we have the newest character in the game, Ultron. Not to be that guy, but like, I totally thought that Ultron was cool before everyone else thought he was cool. Shout out to Avengers of Tomorrow, that movie rips. And with Ultron, there is a general amount of variety. He's always building new versions of himself. Typically, they look around the same design philosophy, but have little tweaks and changes. But, you know, point is, there are some options out there. And initially, I was going to go with Ultron Pym. This whole look where Ultron and Hank Pym got merged into one being. It's a really cool look. And I thought, hey, you know, that might make for a, you know, great horrifying skin. But as I looked into it more and more, I realized that there was something that I was not aware of. The fact that this version of Ultron at one point or another ended up in the future, made a deal with Loki, conquered most of Asgard, and became the Allfather. And that is my choice. Allfather Odin. I absolutely want a skin of this. Look, I love Thor. Thor is one of my favorite Marvel characters. So the idea of one of my favorite Marvel villains combined with some of the mythology and stuff from one of my favorite Marvel heroes, just, oh my god, 100% yes. So yeah, this was a delightful, unexpected find for me while doing some research on the skin that I thought I wanted, but yeah, no, I want this one instead, 100%. You know, when I started this series, the way the Marvel Rivals community viewed these classes was very different from how it is now. When I was recording the Duelist video, I would have to beg people in the lobby to pick a support character. It was just Duelists and Vanguards out the wazoo. There were no heals. But luckily somewhere between here and there, strategists just really took off and became super popular. It's not uncommon to play games with 3 or more strategists on a team at this rate. Alas, it seems like the popularity they gained was taken directly from the Vanguards, as they are not that popular anymore. Which is really a shame, because honestly, I love playing as the Vanguards. I probably play as strategists and Vanguards more than Duelists. And there are some really brilliant and fun Vanguard characters. Doctor Strange, he was one of the characters I played when the game started. But the Thing is a brilliant addition. Hulk is actually really fun. I've actually really been enjoying playing as him. But yeah, there are some really fantastic Vanguard characters. And I have an idea for an outfit for each and every one of them. So without wasting any more of your time, let's go ahead and get into it with... Yeah, to go from defending the Vanguard class to immediately move into Captain America is... Look, if you play as Captain America and you're good as Captain America, then congratulations to you, because you have certainly made something from nothing, buddy. It's a real shame, because I was really looking forward to Captain America. I'm a big fan of the character. And being such a big fan of Captain America, the outfit that I really wanted was his World War II outfit, but I felt like that would be a little too generic of a choice. I like to try and dig a little bit deeper, alright? Anyone can say they want Spider-Man's black suit or Captain America's World War II suit. I try to bring you something a little more unique. Admittedly, this isn't the most original choice, having said that, but the best choice I had for Captain America was Cap Wolf. Basically, for a very brief, like, one story arc, Captain America was temporarily transformed into a werewolf, and... Do I really need to explain why I want this in the game? It's Captain America as a werewolf. Why have, like, his regular comic book outfit when you can have that, but also werewolf? So yeah, Cap Wolf. It's fun. Marvel fans will recognize it. It's very fun. I dig it. Doctor Strange is actually one of my favorite Marvel characters, so I went through a few different outfits trying to think of what I wanted him to have in this game. Ultimately though, the best pick I could make was Paradox. Essentially, once upon a time, Doctor Strange got his ass kicked in a fight, and he needed a minute to just get his shit together. So he went to a little pocket dimension to try and catch his breath and created 2 energy beings to try and sort of get his stuff together. One was Vincent Stevens, just kind of basic business guy who would do business stuff and get him some money. And the other was Paradox, who had the general task of doing basic Doctor Strange stuff. Magic stuff, Midnight Suns things, Blade stuff, things like that. It's a really cool suit. It's got some kind of darker tones to it. The mask looks really good, certainly better than that other time Doctor Strange had a mask look. But yeah, I think this would just look really awesome in Marvel Rivals and really stand out from the other Doctor Strange costumes. Especially with like some like the bright whites and stuff that it has, and like some versions of it, art isn't always the most consistent, but it appears largely as a blue and white costume. Oh Christ, is this gonna be like that dress but for Doctor Strange? I don't know, I hope not. You know, when they added the Punk skins for Magic and Hulk, I honestly was surprised they didn't include Punk Groot. But hey, that just means I can add him here, so more power to me. This was Look Groot adopted when the Guardians were going through a really bad time in the 2019 Guardians of the Galaxy books. Drax was dead. It was Gamora's fault because she sort of turned evil for a little bit there, basically. Oh, and Rocket had left the team because he was dying at the time, so yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot to go through, especially for Groot. And all that manifested in a brand new, edgier look for him. Also, he could talk. Yeah, I think this would be a great look for Groot. The just sharper, more angular, more aggressive look contrasts so brilliantly against his regular, gentle giant kind of look. I think this would be a fantastic skin. I would love to see it in the game, especially with all the other Punk skins coming out. Rivals. The Final Frontier. This is the Starship Hulk, designed by Ryan Otley in the Donny Cates Hulk run. Its mission: to go out and smash stuff. To boldly... I don't know, I can't take this much further. Yeah, it's the Starship Hulk is the skin that I want for him, and there are actually a couple reasons. Number one, it's just kind of cool. It's just a cool skin. I think it's just a neat concept and stuff. But also, it kind of plays into some of the Hulk's mechanics in the game. Because in the game, the Hulk can go from Banner to Hulk to Monster Hulk. Well, the story that introduced Starship Hulk deals a lot with Titan, the Hulk's Hulk, basically. Maybe you could go from Banner to Starship Hulk to Titan or something like that. I think that would be a really neat, sort of visual way to call back to that story even more. Honestly, I would love to see what their version of Banner looks like with this stuff, how that would work. I know there are other more obvious picks, like a Joe Fixit skin with the suit and everything, or maybe Maestro, but again, those just felt so obvious that I couldn't possibly say those. So, yeah, Starship Hulk it is. Boldly going where no man has gone before. When looking at Magneto, I had a lot of options. There were looks like his reformed costume or his headmaster outfit. There were variations on a few different black or white costumes that he's had, things like the ultimate costume. But in the end, I decided, what if my skin for Magneto wasn't technically a Magneto outfit? My Magneto costume pitch is Zorn. What's the deal with the Zorn costume, I hear you asking? Well, buckle up, because it is... it's ridiculous. So basically, there was a brief period where the X-Men thought Magneto was dead. During this period, they accepted a new member to their team named Zorn, except uh-oh, it turns out Magneto wasn't dead, he was pretending to be Zorn to infiltrate the team, and then do a bunch of really terrible stuff. Okay, you got that? Because this is where it gets complicated. Zorn had gotten popular. People liked that character. And Magneto, he's always popular. They want to use him in more stories, but they don't want all the terrible shit he ended up doing in that story to just hang around his neck forever. So, what was Marvel's solution? Well, they basically just said, yes, Zorn is a real guy, he's over there. What really happened was Zorn had an evil brother who was pretending to be Magneto, pretending to be Zorn, and he did all that terrible shit, and Magneto is also over there. So, that's a normal response to an issue, I guess. It's a whole thing. Point is, the design absolutely slaps. Regardless of how complicated all the Zorn stuff is, it's a good fit. And I kind of doubt that they're going to put Zorn in this game. Now, I could be wrong about that. Putting 4 characters in every season, they might have to get to Zorn eventually. But you know what? It doesn't matter. They're probably going to give Bucky a Captain America skin at some point or another. So, we might as well just let characters have other character costumes. So yeah, my pick for Magneto is not Magneto, but Zorn. So with Penny Parker, pretty much everyone has said that she needs a Spider-Verse skin. And yeah, that makes sense. Her only other real look out there is the look that she had in the Spider-Verse movies. So, there's not much else to draw from. God, but I really want to go a few layers deep. If only there was a different Japanese Spider-Man with a robot.
Marvel! Change Leopardo!
Yes, my pick for Penny Parker is Leopardon. I have no idea how this would work. Obviously, it couldn't be as large as it is in the Japanese Spider-Man TV show, but just if they could find some way to work Leopardon into this game, they could have like a little emissary from hell emote or spray or something. Just fans would go nuts for this. I don't even play as Penny Parker, and I would buy the skin immediately because it's the Japanese Spider-Man, and Japanese Spider-Man absolutely rules. He's the emissary from hell. He is insane. So in my strategist video, I mentioned that my all-time favorite run of Thor was by Jason Aaron. Now, in the Jason Aaron Thor comics, we get a lot of different looks at a lot of different versions of Thor. Young Thor, King Thor, Current Thor, Unworthy Thor, Jane Foster Thor, an entire Thor Corps shows up at one point. But out of all the looks he has throughout the series, the one that I really like and I think would look the most different in Marvel Rivals at this rate would probably be the golden-armed Thor from the end of his run. I think the gold contrasts so well against the typical Thor aesthetics. It looks so regal and just fantastic, and I love the entire gold arm. At this time, Thor was missing an arm because Malekith had it cut off. The gold arm is really cool. At one point near the end of the run, during the War of the Realms, Thor loses one of his eyes and covers it up with a golden eye patch that matches the arm. If they could include that too, that would be really cool. I love the helmet, I love the beard. Honestly, also, during a good portion of his run in this outfit, he didn't actually have access to Mjolnir. He still couldn't lift Mjolnir, and even if he could, it had been thrown into the heart of a sun, so, you weren't getting that back anytime soon. So at the time, he just had all of these dwarves making just hundreds of hammers for him to use because he kept breaking them, and I know it would be impossible to program 100 different hammers for one skin, but if they could just include one just dramatic, crazy, different hammer with him, I think that would be fantastic. But yeah, my pick is absolutely the Golden Arm Thor, and you should absolutely read Jason Aaron's Thor run. It is, the words can't describe it. It's fantastic. Go read it. Especially if you're a fan of fantasy stuff, go read it right now. Oddly enough, color seems the best way to create new variants of Venom. You want him to look like his 90s cartoon version? Give him a blue and red shader. You want him to look like Anti-Venom? Make him white. You want to make him look like Marvel vs. Capcom? Make him blue. You want to make him look ultimate? Give him a nice, cool, dark purple shade, no spider emblem on the chest, as he had it on and off every here and there. But yeah, I think just purple, monstrous, ultimate Venom. no spider logo. I think that would really stand out. I think that would really appeal to a lot of people who are into those Ultimate comics and into the Ultimate Venom character. Yeah, there's not much to this one, just I think Ultimate Venom would probably be the best choice here. Have you ever wondered what's under the Thing's rocks? As it turns out, it's flesh. Just meat and blood and bone, just like you and me. Gross. But what does that mean for the Thing? Well, that means if you end up getting in a fight and you're seriously injured, like, oh, I don't know off the top of my head, if you get into a fight with Wolverine and he takes out his adamantium claws and slashes you across the face with them, that's going to leave a very nasty mark. Now, if you're Ben Grimm and you've already got image issues and now you've got a horrible scar on your face, you're probably going to want to wear a helmet on your face for a good little while, at least until it's healed up, and then some. And that is where we get the Hulk's helmeted look from the 90s, which, as you could probably guess by now, is my pick for the Thing. This suit actually calls back to the first costume Sue Storm made for the Thing back in FF number 3. He did not wear that suit for long and didn't really wear the helmet at all, except for like a panel, I think. But nonetheless, it makes a very cool reference all this time later. I think adding this kind of tank top to the Thing looks very nice. I think it's a good, addition to his costume. It adds a little bit more blue into him, and he's not just, wearing shorts anymore. And of course, the helmet is very striking. It's very visually distinct, You pretty much always see the Thing's face. You pretty much always see all of him, His body is his costume, and in this one, a lot of that's covered up. A lot of that's changed. A lot of that is different. And so I think this would be a really neat skin. It would be worth it as a skin. And it's a nice little callback to his original outfit back from FF number 3. So yeah, the scarred and even more deformed Thing with his metal helmet. That's my pick for Ben Grimm. Comics, Emma Frost is known for her array of luxurious and expensive, fantastic outfits. So among those many fits, I have a lot to choose from, but I want to try and find something a little bit more unique, and so none of those are going to be my pick. Instead, I want a skin of Emma Frost from the Age of Apocalypse. In this event book, time travel shenanigans creates a brand new reality where Charles Xavier is long gone, and Apocalypse rises to power, taking over most of the world. This version of Emma has brain surgery done to her by Victor Von Doom to remove her psychic powers. This prevents her from being taken into Apocalypse's brain pool and allows her to join the Human High Council. This look is a lot less luxurious and a lot more practical and rugged than her typical look. Now, the art is a little inconsistent as to whether or not it's supposed to be pink and orange or blue and red, but we could just include a color palette swap. The blue and red one will even look kind of like those little Hellfire Club minions that they had. It'll be fun, it'll be cool. Point is, this is a super different Emma Frost skin. And before you say, but she doesn't have psychic powers, how would that work with her moves? It's revealed down the line, but she still has them. It's fine, don't worry about it. But yeah, that is one skin for every single character in Marvel Rivals. Don't expect a new big video like this every single time new characters get added. I just thought this would be a fun little way to celebrate the new characters, give them some outfits, and go over the characters whose outfits did get put into the game. It was really fun for me to make, though, kind of dig through a bunch of this Marvel history, see all these different outfits, and try to pick some more obscure ones for characters out there. And, it was just a lot of fun. It was good stuff. And hey, if you had as good a time as I did with this, why don't you go ahead and give this video a like. Go ahead and subscribe while you're at it. Hit the little bell icon so you get notified when new videos come out. I'm Keaton Savage, and I'll see you guys next time.